Prof. Subbarayappa, who is the doyen of the historians of science in India, from whose book many of us learn what happened in our scientific past. So R.N.Iyengar, long-time friend, colleague of the Indian Institute of Science, distinguished civil engineer, but with a passion for Sanskrit and astronomy and in fact Indic science, which I share as a hobby with you. Professor Chandra, Professor Shastri, another old friend from the college right next door here. We were students together at the college. I see many friends here, Dr. Yazid and some friends. I am, first of all, greatly honored to be able to be here today, to release this wonderful book that Professor Iyengar has written, Parasharatantra, which is just released. It was an honor to release the book. I think because the book is at one and the same time scholarly, logical, convincing in many ways where there are many doubts, and fascinating. It's all at the same time. So it's three or four things at the same time. Now, Professor Subbarayappa has written an excellent foreword to that book, trying to trace the history of astronomical thinking in India. All of us go about Aryabhatta and the people who came after Aryabhatta. I believe that Aryabhatta, in the Aryabhatiya, that's about 499 CE, 1,500 years ago. Yes, 1,500 years ago. Aryabhata's work signaled, in my view, a revolution in India. Well, there can be arguments about what the sources of that revolution were, what the influences were, but it signaled a different way of thinking and a different way of doing astronomy. It had a profound influence on the future course of astronomical science in India. Thousands of years later, people were still going back to Aryabhatta. Today, if you buy one of these Panchangas in Bangalore, in Canada, you can still mention Aryabhatta at the top. So Aryabhatta's influence on what we did has been remarkable, and you can trace a continuity all the way to Aryabhatta. Aryabhatta also was a rational astronomer. You can say that he was an algorithmic astronomer, computation. His objective was to make algorithms, was to make methods of computation which would produce agreement with what we observe. And that's been a goal of astronomy in India for all these 1,500 years. To go back, there was something before Aryabhatta. Now in India in general, we like to trace, almost as a matter of principle, everything back to the Vedas. Well, there are controversies about the dates of the Vedas as well, but apart from those controversies, we like to see, as a civilization which has been around here now for 4,000 years, we've witnessed many changes, and we would like to be able to trace how those changes came about, what happened before Aryabhatta. Well, one text which has been well known there is the Vedanta Jyotisha. Well, the Vedanta Jyotisha is, from one point of view, very different from Aryabhatta. That I think was a revolution that Aryabhatta made. But the link to the Vedas, there was one. Although it was there in the Vedanta in some sense, it was not always easy to understand. There have been missing links. assuming there were actually beings. And I think that this work, this Parasharatantra that Professor Iyengar has in some sense deconstructed, great scholarship, provides us with those missing links. Now, it's not that all the missing links have been bridged, but I feel that for the first time, you can see continuity in thinking from the Vedas through Parasharatantra and Vedanta literature to the developments that took place 1,500 years ago. Professor Iyengar's scholarship is actually amazing, because he is first of all a very distinguished engineer, familiar with modern methods, handling a variety of problems in his own field, in many branches of civil engineering, but also in assessing questions like the ones that arise when you look at astronomy, for example, or even the history of our country. So he's familiar with both modern and ancient astronomy. Easily uses computer programs to find out matches between astronomical events that are hidden in our ancient texts and what might have happened from going back to making astronomical, not predictions, post-predictions, so to speak, of what might have happened in the past. And seeking the astronomical fact in much ancient lore and myth in India. We have a great literature in myth and lore in India. We don't have a correspondingly great literature in the history of India. We don't know when people were born, when they died. We don't even know when they roughly lived. We don't even know when there is one Parashara, there are many Parasharas. So it's at one level, it seems very confusing. So I think of him as one of those detectives who is trying to extract from all of that lore and myth, where the facts seems to be mingled with imagination, certain relatively stable facts. And those facts are astronomical facts. He is looking for chronological signatures in our world. It's a bit like detective work, a bit like data mining, going to try and see what patterns there are in those events that have been in our ancient text that might now hold out hope for us, that you can put numbers in those events. So this is the field which can be called archaeoastronomy. That there is archaeology, and now people have archaeo this, archaeo that, and so on. There is archaeoastronomy. We go back and try and see, we can reconstruct the past with the information we have in a variety of books. This book has compiled material from 3 sources. We don't have the original book. The Parasharatantra seems to be there till about 1,000 years ago, maybe somewhat longer, but there's no text of it today that's been published as a critical edition. There are some manuscripts, but those manuscripts have not been examined. So what he has done is that from these 3 texts that are available, he's trying to reconstruct what the Parasharatantra might have should have contained. Quite often, from the commentaries written and the quotations that have been taken from the content. Beginning with the commentary on Varahamihira's birth around the 10th century, now you can see, we are already 500 years after Ayurveda. Utpala's commentary, then a book called the Adbhuta Saga by Ballard Sena, 11th, 12th century. Ballard Sena was the king of Mithila, Bihar, is a Karnataka man, incidentally. Not many people even in Karnataka know that for a couple of hundred years, at least for a couple of centuries, Mithila and parts of Bengal had Karnataka rulers. Then there was a commentary, Bhaskar Yogi, edited by that great scholar K.V. Sharma from the 13th century. Parashara was known to algorithm in the 11th century. So, 1,000 years ago, Parashara was still there, and there is Siddhanta attributed to him. But there is no text now, and I think Professor Iyengar has done a great service by putting this book together. Now, this grid, well, I like to think of what Professor Iyengar is doing. You know, astronomy in India is called Nirnaya. In fact, the Panchanga is called Nirnaya even today in the market. It is the determination of time. That is one of the major objectives of Panchangas and Siddhantas. And Professor Iyengar is doing Nirnaya in reverse. He says, you now want to go back and using what people have said about astronomy. Determine the time when they were saying it. Many interesting things about the Parasharatantra. It is in prose, unlike most of our other texts. Commentaries are often in prose, but this Parasharatantra is in prose. Unlike Aryabhata is that's all very dramatic. You can put Aryabhata in a pocket to work very easily. The Parasharatantra is in prose, and Iyengar quotes Sir William Jones, whom all of us know here, the man who studied Sanskrit 200 years ago and made these discoveries about the commonality between the family which is now called Indo-European, many European languages and Indian languages in one family. So he said that the Parasharatantra was in modulated prose in a style matching that of the Vedas. So you can already begin to see that it's going back in the past. So, the date seems to be somewhere between 1150 and 1370 BC. That's the date that Professor Iyengar is proposing for it. It differs from Aryabhata on one and the Vedanta Visha on the other. The strong point is that it's not calendar. It's not algorithmic at all. It is, however, very strong on observations, a variety of observations on the planets, on the grahas as we call them, not all of them are planets in the modern sense of that word in English, on eclipses, on comets, a whole wide variety of comments on the comets. And an explanation of Rahu and Ketu. You can trace the history back of Rahu and Ketu as eclipses. Till Aryabhata came and told us that Rahu and Ketu are not things which are grabbing anything, but it's really the shadow of the sun and moon which create these eclipses. And there's a whole story about Agastya. The time at which the star, Canopus in English, rises, sunset, sunrise, and what the times were in Parashara's time, and what the times are today, and how we can infer, for example, the date of that text from such great significance. Well, I've not read this book completely, I must admit that today. I read the introduction, I have read it forward, and I read here and there, bits of it. Well, it starts off with a question by his student. Kaushika is there. Kaushika goes and asks Parashara his question. Actually, you know, this is one thing that strikes me if you read the older text. Today, you all complain that students don't ask questions in schools. How our system has suppressed that tendency. Students and people are afraid to ask questions. It's even been proposed that to solve this problem, we should stop giving marks answers that people give, but we should start giving marks for the questions that students ask. My question asks a very good question here. And that question is, how is it that you say the sun is responsible for cold and heat, clouds and rain, and all these other things? The sun is only there shining. So he asked, how is it that it's connected to the brain and the brain and so on? They have not completely sorted out that question today. As you can see from the fact that you can't predict rainfalls very well. But sun was therefore very important parameter. So it's fascinating. Those little bits there are interesting to see. All of these things were being done more than 2,000 years ago. So let me conclude by saying that I think by putting this together, I am providing an English translation. And in fact, a commentary of his own on what the material is from different sources. First thing that Professor Iyengar has done is produce a work of scholarship, which I think can influence our thinking about our history very greatly. The second thing which is done is to produce, certainly for me, and I think even for people who know a great deal more about this history than I do, a connected account. For once, I can see a link between the Vedas through Parashara, through Vedanta, all the way to the later Siddhantas. There were 18 Siddhantas at that time. And they had varying degrees of accuracy. Those accuracies varied with time. People have documented which was doing very well at what time and so on. So one can begin to see a connection between what's happened in the last 1,500 years and the Vedas going back to 2,500 years, 4,000 years. And that account is convincing. It is not like the accounts that I have seen of Vedic mathematics, and I must say that here. It's hard to see the roots of Vedic mathematics, the so-called Vedic mathematics in the Vedas. But by providing this very connected, convincing account of this text, Professor Iyengar has made a link which is visible, convincing, and very credible. Finally, the book is fascinating to read. The bits that I have read, and I think there's a great deal there that you can learn about all this. I want not only to congratulate Professor Iyengar on this wonderful work that he's done, but I think that this may be the beginning of a different way of thinking about our past. One that is at one and the same time rational, level-headed, but goes into it in detail and does this wonderful archaeoastronomical project where dates are determined by looking at the past and matching it with patterns that we know must be correct because we can do that with very modern methods. It has certainly changed my view of what had happened in the past, and I'm sure that it will change the views of many of you. So I want to thank him. I'm so grateful that you've actually done this wonderful work. I think this is a landmark in our march to understand our past. Thank you very much. And thank you to Professor Shastri, the Mythic Society and so on, for giving me this opportunity to come and share with you the pleasure I felt in looking at this.
Professor P.V. Subbarayappa to speak a few words.
Professor Roddam Narasimha, Dr. N.K. Shastri, Dr. Chenraj, Professor Subbarayappa, my friend Professor Iyengar, ladies and gentlemen. May I say how happy I am to be with you this afternoon and to participate in this important function. It's a unique function in the sense that true engineers have excelled themselves in their professional field, have found time when they spare time, have read, have studied critically our scientific heritage and made significant contributions to our understanding of scientific heritage. Professor Roddam Narasimha is an aerospace engineer and he has contributed a great deal to understanding of Indian epistemology associated with science and also its conceptual aspects, besides other things. Now, Professor R.N.Iyengar, a civil engineer, I don't know how he found so much time. He has produced a large number of papers on what is called pre-Siddhantic astronomy. I'll tell you a little bit about more. And now he has produced this very valuable book. Professor Roddam Narasimha has already given an account of what this book contains and how important it is. And I shall tell you the place that this particular book enjoys in our understanding the history of Indian science. I wonder, Professor Roddam Narasimha, whether more and more engineers should get into studying our scientific heritage so that we will have much better understanding of our past. Now I said this work which Professor Iyengar has done so meticulously with a great deal of erudition. He comes from a family of Sanskrit tradition. Book. Now, those of you who do not understand or who have not read the history of Indian astronomy, I said a brief picture. I am not going to the details of it because I have been to only 15 minutes time. Now, the origin of Indian astronomy goes back necessarily to the Vedic period, since we do not know much about the Harappan civilization. Then you have the list of nakshatras, Ashwini, Bharani, Kartika, Rohini and so on, which we use even today. And even the months, Chaitra, Vaisakha, Shaka, Jyeshtha, Ashada, Shravana and so on, still we use today. And solar months, Madhu, Madhava and so on. And moon was obviously the parameter for measuring time. He was called Mahakashtra, maker of the month. Just as the same way as the word month is derived from moonet. But no planetary astronomy in Vedic literature. No planets. Then 1,000 years we have another text called Vedanta Jyotisha, to which Professor Roddam Narasimha refers. That also does not make any reference to planets, nor the eclipses. But Vedanta Jyotisha was intended for developing calendars, fixing the exact time for the performance of yajna. Yajna was the kernel of Vedic way of living. It also starts with these 27 nakshatras. But probably with Bharani, that is only an inferential one. But Atharva Veda and also Yajurveda's one Brahmana called Sadapata Brahmana, they start with, they deal with 27 etc. but beginning with Kritika. Now we begin with Ashwini. Now this text, Professor Iyengar has edited and brought out, also has a list of nakshatras beginning with Kritika and ending with Bharati. Now we have to wait for, I said Vedanta Jyotisha around 600 BC. Now we have to wait for another 1,000 years to see a most elegant book probably in Indian astronomy, that is Aryabhatiyam of Aryabhata the first. He is called first because there was another Aryabhata about 500 years later. Suddenly, planetary astronomy, that book deals with planetary astronomy. It's a very elegant text, just 108 plus 13 stanzas, just each stanza having 4 lines. Planetary astronomy and also mathematics. It's a book on mathematics also. So, how did Aryabhata develop this planetary astronomy? What was his source of, or was everything original with him? This is the question which historians of science are still grappling. There are 2 views, even among Western historians of Indian astronomy. You know, we must be grateful to a number of Western scholars of the 19th century especially, who have studied our Sanskrit texts, who learned Sanskrit, who studied our Sanskrit texts, who have translated into English, and we should be grateful to them for making available those seminal texts. One school of Western astronomy, astronomers of Indian, Western historians of Indian astronomy, say that it was all borrowed from the Greeks. Because suddenly a text appeared, so it must have been a moment. There is another school which says Indians had their originality, and both the Greeks and the Indians through their inspiration from a common source, which is somewhere near. These are the 2 views. From Aryabhata onwards, you are on straight course. You are case-wise, text-wise. I say Siddhantic astronomy. In a way, mathematical astronomy. Although the word Siddhanta means something else. So on. This pre-Siddhantic astronomy, one can say, extends from Vedanta Jyotisha, 600 BC, to about 508,000 years. Now, Varahamihira was that of him. He was a junior contemporary of Aryabhata lived in partly the border of Agastya, and Varahamihira lived in Jain. Each did not know much about the other. Varahamihira has produced a work that is available now called Panchasiddhantika, 5 Siddhantas. Saura, Vasishtha, Pitama, Paulisha, and Rome. Now these were earlier than Aryabhata, obviously. That's the pre-Siddhantic period to that. Varahamihira also says that there were 18 Siddhantas, I think 18 Siddhantas. One of them is the Parashara Siddhanta. I want you to understand here what Professor Iyengar has done is Parasharatantra. Parashara Siddhanta. Now we do not know Siddhantas and Parashara Siddhanta is one of them. And it's a very important one, I am told. Now, my esteemed friend, who is no more now, David Pingree, has done extensive work on history of Indian astronomy and has produced a very large bibliography. And according to that, what we call census, according to that, there are 10 manuscripts available in different libraries. They belong to the 10 libraries. This work of Professor Iyengar is a very important work, and I agree with Professor Roddam Narasimha when he says it's a landmark because till now we didn't have a text that would bridge the gap between pre-Siddhantic astronomy and Siddhantic astronomy, in the sense the planetary astronomy, sun, moon and the planets. Now this Parasharatantra deals with planets, it also deals with other things, but it is not planetary astronomy. It deals with no mathematical astronomy at all, so and he mentions the planets, I don't know whether you read that, he mentions the planets in the order of the weekdays. The solar system, you have Sun, then Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the order of distances, and Saturn is the opposite. But here, just like a weekdays, Sun, Moon, Tuesday, Mars, Wednesday, Mercury, Jupiter, Thursday, Venus, Friday, and Saturn. But he gives a lot of this one, whatever, some aspects of them. But the point is, Indian astronomers, about whom we don't know much, knew the planetary aspects of astronomy. That conclusion one can draw from this. Earlier it was thought that only Nakshatra Vidya was known, and then planetary astronomy came up from 5th century AD onwards. So what I would respectfully suggest to my friend Professor Iyengar and all that they should continue this and try to get those 10 manuscripts, edit them critically, translate them into English, and make available this way, Indian astronomy, the missing links in Indian astronomy can be understood or can be brought to life. There's one point which I want to say before I close. A large number of Western historians of Indian astronomy are very emphatic that we did follow from the Greeks. The question is, unless we establish the channel of borrowing, sound historiography demands that we must identify the channel of borrowing. Varahamihira I mentioned, he has written Panchasiddhantika and astronomy text, but he has written much more on astrology. One of them is called Brihat Jataka. And Varahamihira is a very candid person. He has also written Brihat Samhita, in which he says that in this astrology, the Lekshas or Devanas, Greeks or adepts, they are experts. We must worship them as overseas. And there are 33 Greek words in Indian astrology, planetary astrology. And then there is one Greek astronomer, Hellenistic astronomer, Ptolemy. He has written important books on astronomy and astrology. Just like Roddam Narasimha. His work on astrology is called Tetrabiblios. Biblios means book, Tetrabiblios means 4 books. And if you take that, I have got that book with me, if you take that book and also Parashara, you can easily see how ideas have been established and transmitted. The concept of Ucha, Nicha, Mulatrikona, Anapas, Anapada, and so on. So here we can certainly accept that this planetary astrology was borrowed from that Greece. Of course, later on it is Indianized, in the sense of Nakshatra Vidya and planetary astrology was synchronized in a very simple way. There are 27 nakshatras. Each nakshatra has 4 parts. 27 into 4 is 108 parts. There are 12 rashis divided. 9 padas will make 1 rashi. Ashwini and Rani will take our combination. And we had our nakshatra vidya, beneficial effect, beneficial effects and so on. And then in the Greek, enumeration of the effect. So Indian astrology is a mix-up of the native astrology, Vedic astrology, called Nakshatra Vidya, and Greek astrology. In other words, the second point. The point is, according to sound historiography, we can accept that Greek astrology can be, as I told you, the channel of transmission. But in the case of astronomy, there is not a single Greek word in any of the texts or Indian astrology. From Aryabhata onwards. And you have a large body of text. You are not only voluminous, but also luminous. For example, Aryabhata's work is only a small tract, about 121 stanzas. But you have astronomical works of 1,000 verses, 1,400 verses, and the one 18th century, mid-19th century one by Chandrasekhara and astronomer. The number of verses is 2,500. But in all of these, not a single Greek word. Now, how can we accept that Greek astronomy percolated into Indian astronomy? Second, last. I mentioned Ptolemy. He lived in the 2nd century AD, astronomer, astrologer. His astronomy book was called Megalex in Taxis in Greek. He had dealt with planetary astronomy, mean position of planets, true position of planets, eclipses, three problems, and so on. And very critical from the top. Very great book. It was a standard book for Middle Ages. Now, my friend P. also says that Indians did not know Ptolemy's. Now, how is it possible that without knowing a text, we can establish the influence? On the other hand, in the 8th century, 9th century AD, Indian astronomical texts were rendered into Arabic. In the Caliphate at Baghdad. Today, Baghdad may be in ruins. It may have all the problems. But in the history of science, for nearly 400 long years, from about 8th century to 12th century, that played a very great role. Our Indian astronomical texts were translated there into Arabic. Charaka and Sushasana were translated into Arabic, Astanga Uddaya, and some Nano-Sisika texts. Likewise, Greek texts, Latin texts, into Arabic. And this pool of translations that that was probably responsible for the Renaissance to come later in the 14th, 15th century AD in Europe. I'm sorry. Finally, I will also say one aspect against this transmission. According to these Western historians of astronomy, the period between 1st century BC to 5th century AD, time of Parashara, that was the period when transmission happened. But astronomy, no channels had been established, so we cannot accept it. Moreover, that was the period when there was intellectual efflorescence in Indian thought. That was the period. For example, the Jaina thought, Umaswati's Tattvarthalina Sutra, or Kundakundacharya's Roti Sutra, about the problem of matter, space, time. Buddhist Nagarjuna, he developed Madhyamika philosophy, Sunyavad. I still sound correct. Even the Orthodox Hindu philosophy, Vatsyayana, and Prashasthapada, they give details of anatomism. In a way, it was different from Greek. More importantly, Charaka Samhita came into existence, was compiled during the 4th century AD. Sutsin Samhita was compiled. And Charaka added a new dimension to the understanding of or the practice of medicine by introducing the concept of yukti, you are very fond of that, and yukti as a pramana. Yukti means verification, experimentation. The concepts which appeared in Europe only just before Renaissance, during the time of Galileo. What I wish to say is, this was the period when there was intellectual efflorescence. More importantly, I would say most importantly, the decimal place value system, using only 9 digits and 0, the concept of 0. The concept or the practice of decimal place value system has revolutionized the whole department of teaching in Europe, and now it has become universal. So what I wish to point out in the end is that it's very difficult to accept the foreign influence on Indian astronomy. And the text that we have, of course, needs much more studies than what we have done so far. Not all aspects have come to light. But at the same time, as Professor Roddam Narasimha pointed out, we must look for the continuity of thought. It's not that suddenly, in fact, even historians of science wonder whether there was any revolution in science. Earlier it was thought that Newtonian revolution, this revolution, and so on. Suddenly something comes up, a paradigm shift. But there is a continuity of thought which we have to explore. And I congratulate Professor R.N.Iyengar for very excellent words failing me to describe what he has done. He has done a wonderful job, and this should open up new vistas of our understanding of Indian astronomy. I thank Professor Jain University, the Mythic Society, for giving me an opportunity to be with you this evening, share some of my thoughts. I am particularly happy that Professor Roddam Narasimha has found to be one of our leading scientists and a very fine person he has been with us today. And I wish Professor R.N.Iyengar and the Jain University all success in their global endeavors. Thank you very much.
Dr. Chengaraj Roychand is the former chairman of the Jain Group of Institutions.
Most respected, the legend, one of the most respected personality of this whole nation, Roddam Narasimha. I have also been following him, and it's a great occasion to have this great personality here. Professor Subbarayappa, Shastri sir, Dr. R.N.Iyengar. I always rated him as an extraordinary scholar, and today I think both Roddam Narasimha and Subbarayappa has explained the efforts which has gone into Parasharatantra. His inspiration has always been science and Sanskrit. The way I have deliberated with him, he just approached me and said, Mr. Jain, I would like to come out with a book. And I could see the inspiration which he had from that Latur earthquake. And when the earthquake took place, this was a geological place where I think earthquakes are very rare to happen. And the government of India, in his preface what he has written, which the American scientist, when he comes and says that this is a very stable condition, maybe 4,000–5,000 years before it should have had an earthquake for area. And that also inspired him to get into the depth. And from the text compilation what he saw, I think Parashara, the great sage, was there, he got the answers. And this is how I think is the book presented to all of you today. A layman like me, a management student, I am a student of management. But still, it was very interesting for me to read these 2–3 pages, what I could see the book now. And especially in our days, young days, when discourses, when our gurus used to talk about Jambu, Divipa and all this, and I could read this very well in the detail, which I could not understand in those young days. Especially the 1040 yojanas and all, we could hear through our gurus in those days. And also when my guru, Professor Shantamani ma'am, used to talk to me about the cosmic sciences, astronomy and astrology goes together, and how Vedanta, Jyotish is a Sanskrit word, and after Alexander the Great, how the Vedic Siddhanta treatise were written. A little bit of interaction of mine, I had some clue about basic of as a layman, but not in detail as a great scholar like R.N.Iyengar, who had the capacity to bring it in the most logical sequencing for any layman also to understand. And this is one thing I think is an achievement for Professor R.N.Iyengar. And sir, you have been a student of Sanskrit, and you have been a student of even the disciple of Swami Narasimha Swamiji. And you had that experiences, and you have brought in Roddam Narasimha has expressed the beauty of this book, and I am sure all the scholars who are present at the gathering will definitely appreciate this process. And next, many more books I think Jain University is ready to take it forward. And from those days of what we heard, the legend of fish, I read in 186 Mahabharata, the legend of fish where the great sage Manu and how the Hindu father of the mankind, which survived all the ancient days and the rehabilitation of the planet, and then started this process of planet eclipse and rainfall, water and agriculture. This would be a study for the schools and colleges where only they learn Sanskrit, but this has to be a process which I understand in my common sense. 5 years we should not send them to the school children. At least from 3 years to 8 years, they need to understand the basics of this before they go to the school, so that they can develop the life and understand history and culture at the same time, humanity as a large. So this kind of astronomy and astrology studies, natural sciences with science, reasoning power, will take a long way to go. And Jain University, I feel, is a milestone for us to come up with such a scholastic book for the people to understand and try to take the benefit out of this. So thank you, Dr. R.N.Iyengar sir, for giving this wonderful book to the society. Professor Subbarayappa has spoken in length and given a brief account about the Parasharatantra and the process and the benefit of it. So I had some of the points which I already spoken, which I did prepare 10 minutes before coming here. I don't want to repeat it again, but I would develop that interest to go to it. So I wish 30 years before somebody would have inducted me, I would have been Dr. R.N. I would have been a student of Sanskrit and had some more idea about it to develop further knowledge on this text but better late than never. So this book will give me the basic to understand and move forward in understanding the concept of universe as a whole, as a cosmic matter, or the planets, or the entire astrology and astrology and astronomy. Thank you very much, R.N.Iyengar sir, for giving this wonderful book to the society. We at Yale University will continue this mission what you suggested us for the next 18 series of the books. And R.N.Iyengar sir, I always tell him that 108 years he has to survive. So in the next 20 years, I'm sure in the next 5 years he will do that because of the technology available, computational and the teamwork what our Yale University people work. Mr. Santosh, MS Parasharatantra, Mr. Santosh, Shine, and his entire team. There is a batch of youngsters, who just connect with them. And these are the heroes who are behind the show to compile this book in a short period of time. And R.N.Iyengar sir had a doubt whether these youngsters will be able to bring it to on the table today. And they have proved it, the youngsters, the Yale group leaders have proved it that yes, they can be instrumental in bringing the shape of your knowledge to the world. And in fact, they are also the backbone behind it to make this as a book available to society. So well done, the entire Yale University team, the entire team of Yale University Press from
Dr. M.K. Shastri is at present the president of the Mythic Society in Bangalore.
I deem it a great honor and privilege to be here this evening for this book launch function, Parasharatantra, the ancient text in astronomy and natural sciences, authored by Professor R.N.Iyengar, a renowned engineer and a person well versed in Sanskrit studies for the past 3 decades. His approach is scholarly and lucid alike. All those who are interested in the history of Indian astronomy are grateful to him for bringing out this valuable text which has enriched the pre-Aryabhatan astronomy. This book is one of the most reliable and authentic work. I am quoting from this reviewers who have done this book because I have had not the opportunity to see this book earlier. This is to the Professor Iyengar and to Jane. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All good things come to an end, so does ours. Silent gratitude is not in much use. To propose a vote of thanks, I now invite Professor R.N.Iyengar.
Dr. Shastri, Dr. Chandraji, Dr. Subbarayappa, ladies and gentlemen. It is with a deep sense of satisfaction and gratitude that I stand in front of you to propose a vote of thanks. I am really overwhelmed by the kind words said about me in the book by Professor Narasimha, Dr. Subbarayappa, Dr. Shastri, Dr. Jain. Actually, you would see that this is not my book. This is the book of Parashara. I have only made a presentation of the book, and in that sense, the book belongs to all of us. It is a legacy that every Indian should be proud of. It's only the form that I have given. And at this juncture, maybe I can say a few words about how and why I came to do this book. Of course, already that Chandra Jain has stolen away that part of that earthquake. But as an earthquake engineer, see, my PhD work was on earthquakes. I have spent, I can say, 45 years of my life working over earthquakes, vibrations, dynamics. And when I think of vibrations and dynamics, so happy that Dr. Sundaram, whom I invited, is here. Sundaram is the architect of the Prithvi missile system of this country. He has given the strength to this country. So happy that he is here. And I've been working in some directions, but then after this Latur earthquake, the scenario changed to quite a bit. It happens to all of us. We just do our routine work day in and day out, write, publish kind of things. Then suddenly something happens. In this London earthquake, not only it created so much of damage and consideration amongst immigrants. There was a meeting which was held here in Bangalore in India. It's a commission of inquiry, a commission for the government of India had come, where some leading scientists were there. Professor Raul was there, Bruce was there, Wilhelm and several others were there. We had a discussion about seismic hazard in this country, about which I am still working. Recently we have come up with a different way of working with earthquakes in this country. And that document will be coming out from India shortly. But anyway, to cut this story short, the American scientist said, you have such a long history in this country. Why don't you look into the past and see? After all, earthquakes, we know, it is like the Punarjanma. You have earthquakes in the same place where earthquakes have occurred in the past. So you should know where it occurred in the past. Then I know where it will occur in the future. So that is a way to proceed forward in designing or whatever you may like to call it. And hence, if in South India, now today, you know that the larger earthquakes occur, there should have been earthquakes in the past. This setting thinking, and then because of my client who have come from Sanskrit family as Subbarayappa mentioned, I said, look, I should be able to do something not just about earthquakes, but I should look back. Not be happy with only Kalidasa, Basa, and all that, but do something. Then I went to Professor Samhita because it's a very well-known book, everybody knows about it. It's a very long chapter on earthquakes, chapter number 24. But to my surprise, I found Varahamya has quoted only Parashara and a few others. He doesn't have anything original to say. What happened during his time in Ujjain or in Madhya Pradesh? I was expecting there was going to be something. There was nothing. Then this Parashara attracted my attention because in the commentaries, Parashara has given his own opinion about that. What Utpala has quoted, because the student asked, as Professor Narasimha pointed out, there are questions in this book. So the student's question, they were never surprised. He asked why earthquakes occur. Is it because there are animals in the ocean which they make the earthquake occur? Or is it due to some wind which happens? Well, anyway, we need not go into those stories. Parashara says no, none of this, and he gives his own theory. But he had divided the country into 5 zones, that where a Agni type earthquake occurs, where a water type earthquake occurs, and like that. Which is exactly the same which we are following even to this day. IS 1893, that has not changed. They still have 4 zones actually. So this kept me wondering. So there should have been some classification, some way of data collection which has happened, and that set me thinking. And that is how, for the last nearly 20 years, I have been looking at Parashara's constructions, Parashara's statements. Unfortunately, as already was pointed out, I could not get his original manuscripts, the original books, but only the quotations attributed to him. That itself is a mine of information. Because we know that our Vyakhyanakaras, when they quoted precisely what that person had said. Whether it is the Vyakhyanana, Mahabharata, the Vyakhyanana, Utpala, whoever it is, there is some set pattern of Vyakhyana system done with it. And when I went through that, I was amazed to see the kind of information that is available. And again, it set me thinking about what Narasimha mentioned, about chronology, about earthquakes. When an earthquake occurred is one thing. I wrote an article. One day Dr. Rajaram, when we met in the airport, he asked me, yes, I have seen your current science article. You say that there was an earthquake which has been mentioned in the Mahabharata, in the Yoga Parva, and you say that it would have occurred in Kurukshetra. That is all right. But when did it happen? That means I have to know when did it war occurred, then when did it. So this is how we got into astronomy, to see whether it is possible. When we found all of this, there is definitely a connection, which already Dr. Narasimha has very well presented. There is a continuity from the Vedic period to the later period, a kind of a dark period which we don't know fully. Later on to the common era, when you have the Siddhantic textbooks available. And we know that there are lots of controversies which are in this area about the Rashis. Whether the Rashi and the present day horoscopic astrology is Vedic or not. I will not get into the controversies about that. But we know that Parashara did not know about planets. Parashara has not promoted horoscope astrology, but he had an astrology. That was the Nakshatra Vidyas was mentioning. There is a Nakshatra based astrology, he definitely had. He had a natal astrology. That is in one of the chapters described it. But he had this one with the place. There has been another bigger controversy whether Hindus knew the solar zodiac or not. In fact, many people have mentioned very categorically that Hindus had only a lunar zodiac and they did not know about the solar zodiac. Even S.P. Dixit in his book has written that in the Vedas we don't find very categorical statements about solar months or the solar zodiac. But to my surprise, Parashara has a solar zodiac. Only thing is he did not have 12 degrees, he had 6 degrees. And his 0 point did not start from the equinoctial point as we have today. It started from the winter solstice like in the Vedanta. So it is the preliminary part, the developmental part of the solar zodiac in this country, which later on became the 12 part solar zodiac. Maybe took some information from the Greek and combined it and made it a different kind of system. That is possible, but the roots of ancient astronomy are very much in this Parashara tradition, and that is why I wanted to present this or make some research on this to bring out also on comets, because it's a very long chapter on comets, and modern astronomers who have written on history of science, they say that Indians did not observe comets, they have not left any records. But this person has left 26 comets, given the time period between them. He has a theory that the time from the comet goes away from the sun. Categorically he says that. And he says that only people who know it, they know that it is something like a star. Variety of interesting things like that. But coming back to earthquakes, there was a chapter on earthquakes. And later on, Parashara discussed about rainfall. In fact, I worked with Prof. Narasimha in the same center for atmospheric sciences, where I did considerable studies on statistical methods in understanding modern rainfall. But this person had already measured rainfall 2000 years back in his own way. He has given a measure, very similar to present day measure of inches. He had a Roddam measure. I can convert that Roddam measure into present day also in a statistical sense. And he had given in a different way the interannual variability about which we are so much worried today about droughts and floods. He had his own way of doing it. Discusses clouds, he discusses lightning, gives name for lightning, variety of atmosphere. So I was enthused with Parashara, absolutely no doubt, passionately in love with Parashara, but I could not get his origin. But then, writing papers is one thing, but to bring it into a book form, a Sanskrit book, that is an ultimate task, a daunting task. There are Sanskrit scholars here, that Shastri and a few others who know how difficult it is, and they are going to tear me to pieces if I make a mistake. So I know that very well, and I am not a Sanskrit scholar, but I could not be very much worried about it in writing a paper in English. But then, fortunately, again, courtesy Dr. Chandra Jain, we had invited a Sanskrit scholar by name Dr. Vakanta, who was with us for nearly 1.5 years, and when he read through the work that I had done, he said this should be brought out into a book form, and Sanskrit scholars will definitely welcome it. You should not worry about it. He pumped me with confidence. And I thank him first for giving me the confidence to see that this can be brought out as a book. Even after going to IIT Gandhinagar, he left about 3 months back, I have been in constant touch with him. Whenever I phone him up, I ask him about the Dhatu, some Pratyaya, Vigatavakya. We will over phone him to discuss with me and tell me, and he has been a great support for that. But after I brought out the Sanskrit version in my translation, I had the basic doubt whether it is worthwhile printing, worthwhile publishing. Publishing papers is one thing which I have learned from Indian Institute of Science. I mean, that has become a passion that I do. That is a different matter. That also would contribute something to the university, one or two papers. They don't need my papers, but anyway, it can also do one or two about it. Then I went to Dr. Subbarayappa, because Dr. Subbarayappa, as all of you know, is the Diana of history of science in this country. I had heard him several times in this same room. and I have participated with him in the conferences and symposiums, traveled with him to Bombay for some of the DAFR conferences. He stays very near my house, and I have discussed with him many times previously, but still I was quite hesitant because it should measure up to some level. So the historians of science should accept that it is something which is useful. So when I went to him and I gave him only my basic maths, not even the complete book, requested him to go to it. He said, I will do it if you give me time, 6 to 8 weeks. I agreed, waited for 8 weeks. He phoned me up and said, okay, it has come out very well. Then I went to him, asked him, he had made some marks, corrections, changes in red and in blue, that you should do like this, you should put up like this. Sir, I am so grateful to you for all the help you have given me. And then I requested him that if you think it is worthwhile, kindly write it forward. Yes, it is very scholarly forward, bringing out how in India we are losing not only our culture, heritage and history, in a very peculiar way. We are bringing in wrong things and promoting that as history, that as science. That approach is not right. There should be logic, there should be evidence, there should be systematic analysis, and he greatly helped me in bringing out that he agrees that it is from the Vedas, agrees that it is pre-Aryabhata. That is the certificate I wanted. I mean, somebody tells me it is pre-Siddhantic is one thing. We say that Shankrinda Bandareli Tirtha. He said, yes, it is pre-Aryabhata astronomy. It contains planetary statements. It is not orbital astronomy. Yes, agree. It is not mathematical astronomy. It is observational, as Dr. Narasimha said. The observation is very peculiar. They did not immediately observe the periods. They observed the visibility numbers and the invisibility. And I had a hunch that even though Varahamana says Parasharatantra, what in Brihad Samhita, what Parashara has said about Mercury's visibility and invisibility is wrong. Utpala also says Gadithanamyan Nabhavati. So it is not as per astronomy, that is as per their astronomy. They are given the numbers. There are 7 numbers. Why would you give the numbers? So I had a hunch it should be correct. And that is the observational astronomy. It works out correctly. So there is a kind of a continuity and an internal consistency and a compatibility. Because we know as engineers, compatibility condition is the most important condition. And that condition is maintained there. And after the manuscript was ready, I was talking one day with Dr. Chandra, as he already mentioned. We talk about so many things. Even though I was invited to start the Center for Disaster Mitigation, the Fire Engineering Lab. Incidentally, my good friend Agastya is here. He is the managing director of the Underwriters Lab in India. He is a very leading man in the area of safety and fire sciences. With them, we have a collaboration to start the Fire Engineering Lab, a very unique lab in this country. The research in this country to be done in the university atmosphere. And in that connection, whenever I used to talk to Dr. Chandra Jain, he would digress and talk about so many other things. And as you heard him just now, he was talking about the ancient culture, education, many other things. I was quite hesitant to say that what I am doing, but he would always ask me, somehow drag me to violence, talk about philosophy, ask me whether you believe in God, whether this is right, that is right, whether mysticism is right. He knows that I am interested in mysticism. Whether mysticism and philosophy match with science or not, these are very, very basic questions. That a person who is rational, who is scientist, can he still be a philosopher? Can he still believe in Brahman? Can he still have a philosophy, Vedanta? These are the questions. Not talking about believing in whether he believes in Navagraha Puja or not is a immaterial. He may not. But he will be a great man. We know that in Indian philosophy, they have had Nirishwaravadis. They are very great people. And we respect them even today. Not that they were Nastikas or that should be pushed off. That was not our culture. Hence, when Dr. Jain would ask this, I used to call him Dr. Jain on this, many questions would come up. And I told him, look, the science and ancient culture are the way of thinking in India, at least as I have understood. From my very little Sanskrit exposure in the Mysore Sanskrit college, I can say, They never asked me to do something else. They told me that I can still be rational, I can still be thinking, I can still be an idea where I am going to disagree. Maybe Krishna's historicity, it doesn't matter. Those things don't matter. So, it was a very interesting thing, discussion with Dr. Chandra. They told him not only the astronomy developed by the Brahmins, but even the Jain astronomy, the Jambudvipa. The Jambudvipa Pragnapti is a very interesting book, which is improper, and in fact it should be brought out in Sanskrit Chara and also in the We are working on Surya Pragnapti. So I will come to you one day with that. And then because it not only in Sanskrit, it is in Prakritika science text. So when I discussed this with him, he saw the manuscript. I didn't expect any special comments from him, but in a surprise he said, if you are ready, I will get it published in 3 months. That is what he said. I was not ready yet. But I got ready sometime in August, and as promised by him, he got the book released today within 3 months. And I am thankful to him for that, and I am thankful to his team of people, Santosh, Darshana, Anumeha, Suresh, Shine, Rahul, and others. But to have a person of the stature of Professor Narasimha to release the book is something, I would say, it is the icing on the cake. It is a bonus for me, I would say. I know Professor Narasimha for such a long time, a few decades. I worked with him very closely. Even as a student, I used to listen to his lectures. Maybe he may not remember, but I attended some of his lectures, singular perspective, and other things. I was amazed with his intellectual capability. And anyone who listened to him or who worked with him knows his analytical capabilities. The way that he analyzes, whether it may be history, whether it may be philosophy, whether it may be linguistics, or whether it may be epistemology, to which Dr. Subbarayappa mentioned, you will always get something. So it was very kind of him when I went to him and requested. I phoned him. He said, I will be available, but I want to read the book. So we made it available. And today, I would say with his golden hand, with his appreciations. I'm so much. Dr. Shastri is again a structural engineer like me, and we have had a long contact with the Mythic Society. And myself and Mr. Santosh, we thought that releasing the book in the Mythic Society would be appropriate because of my connection also with Subbarayappa also said something to like this. Came and we discussed with him. We very readily agreed for this. Sir, I am thankful to you on behalf of the Jain University and on behalf of myself. Dr. Sundarajan was a very silent person. He speak today because he said that it's already late, let's go for tea. So Sundarajan, whenever I requested him for support on the activities that we are doing, even though it may not be directly concerned in engineering, like in the Indian Institute of Science, whether I worked on Sanskrit, whether I worked on rainfall, whether I did something, nobody would question me. So long we worked with something. Yeah. So that freedom was given. So the same kind of freedom Dr. Jain and Dr. Sundarajan are trying to develop. I am extremely happy about it. So thank you so much.